He lived a quiet life shaped by routine and responsibility. Every morning he woke before the sun, not because he wanted to, but because life demanded it. There was work to be done, and people depending on him. He moved through the days carrying a calm face while hiding the weight inside his chest. Years earlier, his world had changed suddenly, and since then he learned to survive instead of dream. Love once felt close to him, but slowly it faded into memory. He did not complain, and he did not expect much from life anymore. She lived a different kind of quiet life. Her days were full of movement, yet her heart felt still. She had dreams that once felt loud and colorful, but time softened them into gentle wishes. People around her saw a smile and assumed happiness. They did not see the loneliness that visited her at night. She often wondered if real love was meant for others and not for her still. She carried hope without knowing why. They lived in the same city, walked on the same streets, and breathed the same air, yet their lives had never touched until one ordinary day. There was nothing special about that day. The sky looked normal, and the world moved at its usual pace. Neither of them expected anything different to happen. He stopped by a small, local place after work. It was not fancy and not new. He went there often because it felt familiar and safe. She was there that day doing something simple and routine. She was focused on her task and unaware that her life was about to shift. When their eyes met, there was no spark that movies talk about, no dramatic moment, and no sudden rush. Instead, there was comfort, a quiet recognition that felt strange, yet warm. They exchanged a few simple words, nothing deep and nothing important, yet something stayed with them after they went their separate ways. He found himself thinking about that moment later that night. He could not explain why. It was not her face or her voice. It was the feeling of ease he had not felt in a long time. She replayed the moment in her mind. She wondered why such a small interaction felt so calm. 8 passed and life continued as usual, but somehow they crossed paths again. This time the conversation lasted a little longer. They spoke about ordinary things, work, daily life, small struggles. They laughed softly without trying. Either noticed how time slipped away with each meeting. The comfort grew. There was no pressure and no pretending. Spoke honestly without fear of judgment. He shared pieces of his life he rarely spoke about. She listened with care and patience. She shared her own quiet disappointments. He listened the same way. Both felt something rare. They felt seen. They felt understood. Not in a dramatic way, but in a steady, gentle way. Still, they were careful. Life had taught them both to protect their hearts. He carried the memory of loss. She carried the fear of disappointment. Either wanted to name what was happening. They simply allowed the moments to exist. One evening they sat in silence for a while, not awkward and not forced, just calm. That silence said more than words ever could. In that moment they both felt it. Something real was beginning. He went home that night feeling lighter. She walked away feeling hopeful. Neither said it out loud, but both knew their lives had quietly changed. This was not a love that arrived loudly. It arrived gently, slowly, like light entering a dark room. Neither knew where it would lead, but for the first time in years they were willing to find out. The days that followed carried a quiet change for both of them. Nothing dramatic happened on the outside. Life still moved with the same rhythm. Work still demanded time and energy. Responsibilities still waited each morning, but inside something felt different. He noticed it first during small moments. While walking to work, his steps felt lighter. While sitting alone, he no longer felt completely alone. Thoughts of their conversations returned, often not loudly, but gently, like a soft reminder that someone understood him. She noticed the change. In her own way, she smiled more without thinking about it. She felt present during her day, instead of lost in thought. Her evenings felt less heavy. She caught herself waiting for the next time their paths would cross. They did not plan their meetings. Happened naturally, as if life itself was guiding them closer each time they met. The conversations grew deeper, still simple and honest. They talked about childhood memories, about mistakes they wished they could undo, about dreams they once had and were afraid to speak about now. There was no need to impress, no need to hide flaws. They spoke as they were, and that made every moment feel real. He shared how life had taught him to be strong, even when he felt tired, how he learned to put others before himself, how sometimes he wondered who he was beyond responsibility. She listened with care and respect. She never rushed. Him she never judged. She shared how she once believed. Life would turn out differently how she followed the rules, and still felt lost how she feared waking up years later with regret. He listened the same way with patience and kindness, and each other they found safety, a place where words did not need to be perfect, a place where silence felt warm. Instead of empty, slowly trust began to grow, not forced and not promised. It grew through actions, through remembering small details, through checking in during hard days, through showing up when it mattered. They began to notice how similar they were, both guarded, yet hopeful, both tired, yet willing, both afraid of love, yet drawn to it. Sometimes doubt crept in quietly. He wondered if opening his heart again was wise. She wondered if she was imagining something that might disappear. Neither spoke these fears out loud, but both felt them. One afternoon, they walked together without speaking much. The world moved around them. People passed by, sounds filled the air, yet they felt wrapped in their own calm space. He realized then how rare that feeling was. He had not felt peace beside someone in a long time. She felt it too, a sense of belonging without effort. They laughed at simple things, moments that would seem ordinary to others, but to them they mattered because they were shared. As days turned into weeks, their bond deepened. They began to rely on each other emotionally, not in a heavy way, but in a steady, supportive way. When he had a difficult day, she noticed. When she felt overwhelmed, he sensed it. They did not need long explanations. Few words were enough sometimes, just presence. Still they avoided naming what was growing between them. There was comfort in not defining it. Labels felt heavy, expectations felt risky. They preferred the honesty of the moment. Late one evening they talked longer than usual about life choices and missed chances, about fear of loss, about the pain of hoping too much. He admitted he was scared of trusting again, scared of breaking something that felt fragile. She admitted she was scared, too scared, of disappointment, scared of believing in something that might fade. In that shared fear, they felt closer than ever because they were not pretending to be brave. They were simply being honest. Something shifted. That became more open, more present, more aware of what they meant to each other. He found himself caring deeply about her happiness, not out of obligation, but because it felt natural. She felt the same. His peace mattered to her. They still moved slowly, neither wanted to rush. They understood that real connection needed time. They respected each other's past and wounds. One quiet moment changed everything. They sat together, watching the world pass. No words were needed in that silence. They both knew this was no longer just comfort, this was connection. Neither spoke it out loud, but both felt it clearly. Something beautiful was growing, something worth protecting, and though the future remained uncertain, they were no longer walking alone. They were walking toward something together. Life did not pause because they were growing. Closer problems and responsibilities continued to arrive. The world reminded them that love was not separate from reality. They could not ignore the challenges that waited outside their moments together. He faced pressure at work. Deadlines seemed endless, and mistakes were costly. He had to make decisions that weighed heavily on his mind. He tried to stay calm, but the stress seeped into his evenings. She faced struggles of her own family. Concerns and personal doubts occupied her thoughts. She wanted to be strong, yet felt vulnerable at times. The hope she carried was tested. The days when they could be together became fewer. They noticed the gap between them growing small. Misunderstandings appeared where there had been none. Words spoken without care caused unexpected tension. He wondered if he was imagining too much, if his feelings were clouding reality. She questioned if trusting someone again was wise. Both feared losing what had quietly grown. One afternoon they met, and the conversation quickly turned serious. They spoke about pressures they faced outside the comfort of each other. Their words were honest, yet cautious. Neither wanted to cause pain, but the weight of real life was difficult to ignore. He admitted he sometimes felt overwhelmed. She admitted she sometimes felt alone, even when surrounded by people. Both realized that connection did not erase struggle, it only helped bear it. Still, the small misunderstandings grew. He misread her silence as disinterested, misread his quietness as withdrawal. Neither wanted to hurt the other, yet tension slowly increased. They began to doubt themselves, and each other the comfort that once came easily now required effort. They questioned if love was enough when the world demanded so much. Days passed with smaller interactions. Cadus avoiding meeting for fear of conflict, both felt a heavy sadness they had not known before. One evening he considered stepping back. The fear of loss and disappointment pressed on him. He wondered if keeping a safe distance would protect both of them. She did the same. She feared that her hope might be mistaken and that disappointment would follow yet. Even in this tension, they could not let go completely. Their hearts pulled them together despite the obstacles. They remembered laughter and quiet moments. They remembered honesty and understanding. And understanding, that memory made the distance feel sharper, turning. Point came one rainy day neither had expected to meet, but life placed them in the same place. They were both tired and frustrated. They spoke softly about their fears and worries. In that conversation everything spilled out, all doubts and insecurities. Where shared no blame was placed to no harsh words exchanged, just honesty. He admitted his fear of repeating past mistakes, admitted her fear of being hurt again. They talked about everything they had kept inside, the burdens of life and the quiet weight of their hearts. It was exhausting, yet cleansing. The tension that had built up slowly eased. They felt relief not because the world had changed, but because they were facing it together. From that day the nature of their connection shifted. It was no longer just comfort, it was recognition of resilience, acknowledgement of imperfection, commitment without promises. They learned that love did not remove difficulty, it offered strength to face it. Allowed room for mistakes without judgment, it encouraged growth. Even when uncertain evenings became moments of reflection, walks were slower and more deliberate conversations. Included concerns as well as small joys. They shared news of their days, not only to inform, but to include each other in their world. They began to anticipate challenges together, not as a burden, but as a shared responsibility. They discussed what each needed to feel secure and listened carefully when the other spoke. Their connection became a safe harbor, a place where the storms of life could be faced side by side. They did not pretend life was easy. They simply chose to walk together still. Fear never completely vanished. They understood that the world would always test their bond. They knew that patience and understanding were as important as love itself. They became careful with words, gentle, with actions attentive to small signs of stress or doubt. They learned that the smallest gesture could reassure or wound, and yet despite all the tests and challenges they continued to grow closer, because connection is not about perfection, it is about presence and Karevan. The nights alone felt different. Memories of small moments offered comfort, not loneliness. Through every difficulty they discovered something essential, that love is not a shield from life. It is a companion through a tan. Though the path was not free from doubt or fear, they chose to continue walking together, knowing that the struggle of reality could not outweigh the strength of what had begun. After the challenges and tension of the previous weeks, they began to think deeply about what truly mattered. Life had tested their connection, and they realized that their bond was not something to abandon easily. He spent evenings reflecting on his feelings. He thought about the moments of comfort and understanding they had shared. He remembered the way she listened without judgment, the way her presence eased the weight of his worries. He realized he cared more deeply than he had admitted even to himself. She reflected on her emotions. She thought about the small gestures that had made her feel seen, though times he had offered support without expectation, the laughter and quiet moments that had become precious. She understood that letting go would mean losing something irreplaceable. Both knew that moving forward would require courage. They had to face their fears and choose each other despite the uncertainties. It was not an easy decision. They understood that life would continue to present obstacles, but love meant embracing it together. One evening they met at a quiet place where the world seemed to slow down. The conversation began. Softly they spoke about recent struggles and daily challenges, but gradually they moved to deeper topics. They shared hopes and fears. Openly he admitted he had been afraid of losing her, afraid of failing in this connection, afraid of repeating past mistakes. She admitted similar fears, afraid of disappointment, afraid of trusting too easily, afraid of opening her heart only to face loss. Honesty between them created a new level of intimacy. They no longer hid behind caution. They allowed vulnerability to exist. Without shame, and in that shared vulnerability, they found strength. They spoke about the future, not in terms of plans, but in terms of values, about being present for each other, about listening and supporting, about choosing understanding over pride. They realized that love required patience and care more than grand gestures. Days turned into weeks, and they continued building this foundations. Small acts of kindness became significant. Simple check-ins carried meaning. Being present during difficult times became a shared commitment. He made small efforts to notice her needs, to offer help without being asked, to give space when needed, to communicate openly about struggles. She did the same. The world outside still demanded attention. Problems did not disappear. They faced them together. Their partnership was not about escaping reality. It was about facing reality with each other. They celebrated small victories together a day with less stress. A moment of laughter, a shared meal without distraction. These moments became reminders of what mattered. Trust deepened, not because words promised forever, but because actions proved reliability. They learned that love was shown in daily choices, in patience and understanding. Consistency and presence. One afternoon, they walked through a familiar path. The air felt calm. They spoke about dreams that had been postponed. They encouraged each other gently to pursue them. They realized that love could inspire growth rather than hold back, even as became times of reflection. They shared thoughts and emotions, sometimes silently, sometimes through words, always with attention and care. They understood that challenges would continue, but they were confident in their choice to face them together. They chose love not because it was simple, but because it was worth. In moments of fear or doubt, they reminded each other of the strength they had found together. Learned that courage is not absence of fear, is moving forward. Despite it, this realization transformed their connection. No longer cautious and hesitant, they became committed emotionally, not with promises written in words, but with actions that consistently supported each other. They discovered that love was not about perfection. It was about acceptance, about embracing flaws, about supporting growth, about being present in both joy and struggle. As time went on, they experienced small yet powerful changes in themselves. He felt more open to hope and happiness. She felt more confident and secure in her choices. They became more patient and understanding, not only with each other but with themselves. They had chosen love despite fear, and in that choice they found freedom. Freedom that comes from knowing that someone stands beside you through life, not to shield from all pain, but to face it together. They understood that love is an act of courage, of daily choices, of shared understanding. It is not always easy, but becomes meaningful because of the effort and care involved. In quiet moments together, they felt a deep sense of peace, a connection that had endured challenges and emerged stronger. They did not know what the future held, but they knew one thing clearly: they were willing to continue walking together, facing life side by side, building a bond that could endure time and difficulty. Time continued its quiet rhythm, and life moved forward as it always did. Yet for them, the days felt different now. It was a sense of belonging and trust that had grown from the choices they had made together. They continued facing challenges, but now, with a shared strength, work pressures came and went, family concerns arose, and expected difficulties appeared, but they met each situation together. Support and understanding became their daily practice. He found joy in seeing her smile after a long die-in, listening without trying to solve everything, and simply being present. She found comfort in knowing someone was truly there, not to judge or fix, but to share the moments of life. They learned to celebrate ordinary days: a quiet morning coffee, a walk in the park, a conversation that lasted longer than expected. These small moments carried more meaning than grand gestures. Even in disagreements, they learned to communicate with patience, to listen without interrupting, to understand before responding, to remember that the bond between them was stronger than the frustration of the moment. They discovered new ways to support each other. He encouraged her to pursue a dream she had put aside. She offered reassurance and care when he faced doubts. They learned that love was not about changing each other, but about creating space for growth. Days passed with laughter and quiet. Companionship evenings were shared in comfortable silence. Sometimes words were not needed. Presence itself became a language of care. They found joy in the simple acts, cooking a meal together, sharing music ups, any small details in each other's moments that might seem ordinary to others were extraordinary to them. Their connection deepened over time. Through dramatic events, but through consistency, through showing up, through kindness, through patience even, their challenges became opportunities for growth. When disagreements arose, they spoke openly. When life caused stress, they leaned on each other. When fear appeared, they reminded one another of the courage they had shown before. They came to understand that love is a quiet choice, every day a choice. To listen, a choice to be patient, to tear, a choice to forgive, and move forward together in each other. They found a home, not in a physical sense, but in a heart sense, a place where they felt safe, a place where they could be themselves, a place where vulnerability was met with acceptance. They continued to dream together, making small plans for the future, imagining experiences and adventures, supporting each other in personal goals, knowing that life would always be unpredictable, but choosing to face it together. Even when life felt heavy, they discovered the strength and shared burdens. Not all problems disappeared, but each became lighter because they were faced together. They learned to appreciate the quiet beauty in ordinary life, the subtle moments that often go unnoticed. Stay smile exchanged across a room, may hand held for reassurance, a shared glance that says more than words could convey. Also understood that love does not erase the past, does not undo previous pain, but it offers healing. It offers a chance to build something new, a life shared with care and respect. They discovered the power of small acts, the power of listening without judgment, the power of showing up consistently. These were the foundations of something lasting over time. Their relationship became a story of growth and understanding, of patience and shared strength, of facing fear and uncertainty and choosing connection, of building trust and care with each passing day. Even the quiet evenings held a sense of fulfillment. Together, without conversation, yet feeling complete, experiencing the comfort of being with someone who truly understands. They also learned to let life continue its natural rhythm, without trying to control every outcome, without expecting perfection, with acceptance that life could bring challenges at any moment. Through all of this, they came to a quiet realization that love is not just an emotion, it is a practice, a daily choice to be present and to carry your commitment to face life together. And so they moved forward with hands held and hearts open, with trust that had been earned through challenges, with hope that each day would bring new moments to share. They continued to walk side by side, facing the uncertainties of life, sharing laughter and tears, supporting each other through struggles and joys. In the end, their love became a quiet force, not loud or dramatic, but steady and true. Love that inspired confidence and hope, love that endured because it was chosen every day. They had created something rare and beautiful, a bond that could withstand the challenges of life, a connection that offered peace, understanding, and joy. And though the future remained unknown, they were certain of one thing: they would continue walking together, building a life full of care, respect, and shared moments. Their love was no longer just a story beginning, it was a story lived every day. As life moved forward, they continued to build their connection. Years brought changes and challenges, but also moments of growth and joy. They found that the bond they had nurtured grew stronger with each experience shared. He found comfort in knowing she would stand by him in difficult times. Her presence became a source of calm when the world felt overwhelming. Learned to share not only his thoughts, but also his fears and uncertainties. And in doing so, he discovered a new sense of freedom. She found strength in his quiet support. She realized that having someone who listens without judgment makes challenges easier to face. She shared her hopes and worries openly and found that he met them with care and understanding. This trust became the foundation of their relationship. Daily life continued with its ordinary rhythm. They worked and managed responsibilities. Sometimes their days were busy and stressful. Other times they were calm and reflective. Through it all, they remained present for each other. They discovered the beauty in small rituals: a morning walk together, a shared meal, conversation about dreams, a comforting touch when one felt anxious. These moments became symbols of their commitment. When challenges arose, they faced them as a team. Neither tried to control the other, either expected perfection. Instead, they supported growth and understanding. They learned that real connection requires patience and cares. Times disagreements happened, they did not let them fester. They spoke openly and listened carefully. They understood that disagreements do not weaken love but can strengthen understanding. He encouraged her to pursue personal goals. She offered support when he faced doubt. They discovered that love is not about limiting each other, it is about creating space for growth and confidence. They celebrated achievements, both big and small. Promotion at work, completing a personal project, a day when challenges were overcome. Each success was shared with joy. In mutual pride, they also learned to comfort each other in failure, a mistake at work, a missed opportunity, a difficult conversation with someone else. They offered understanding instead of judgment, and presence instead of advice. Their evenings often held quiet reflections, sitting together and observing the world. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes they simply shared silence. Always feeling the presence of the other, they continued to communicate openly, sharing worries, hopes, and plans, learning from each other and growing together. They understood that love is sustained through understanding and mutual care. They discovered that love is not always dramatic. It is often quiet and steady. It is shown in small acts of kindness, patience, and presence. It is a daily choice to care and to listen even as life continued with its uncertainties. They remained committed to each other. They knew that challenges would come, but they also knew that facing them together made them stronger. They began to look forward to future moments, planning simple experiences and small adventures, encouraging each other to explore new interests, sharing excitement and curiosity. The bond between them became a safe place, space where both could be vulnerable, without fear, where dreams were shared without hesitation, where struggles were met with patience and support. They also discovered the importance of forgiveness. Mistakes happened, words were said in frustration, but they learned to forgive quickly and to focus on the strength of their connection. In quiet moments, they reflected on their journey, the early days of comfort and recognition, period of doubt and tension, the choice to embrace love despite fear, the steady growth of trust and understanding. They realized that each challenge had strengthened their bond. Each moment of doubt had taught them patience. Each act of care had deepened their love. They found joy in knowing that they could face the future together, that whatever changes life brought, they would continue walking side by side, supporting, encouraging, understanding each other in their daily interactions. They practiced empathy and attentiveness. They listened carefully and offered support when needed. They celebrated each other consistently. They understood that real love is not about perfection, it is about acceptance, growth, and shared responsibility. It is about facing challenges together while remaining committed. As time passed, they became more confident in their relationship, more patient with themselves and each other, more appreciative of small moments and gestures, more committed to nurturing the bond they had built. They discovered that life is more meaningful when shared, that challenges become lighter when faced together, that joy is deeper when experienced in the presence of someone who understands. Ordinary days became extraordinary because they were shared, because each small gesture reflected care and attention, because the relationship was grounded in trust, respect, and understanding. They looked forward to continuing their journey together, facing new challenges and celebrating new joys, supporting each other in growth and dreams, building a life rooted in quiet strength and love. Years passed and their connection deepened in ways that neither could have imagined. At the beginning, life continued with its constant rhythm of responsibilities, surprises, challenges, and small joys. They had learned to navigate the world together, finding strength in the presence of one another and comfort in the understanding. They had built. He noticed the subtle changes in himself. Over time he became more patient and compassionate, not only toward her but also toward himself and others. The anxieties that once consumed him had eased into a calm resilience. He realized that sharing his life with someone who truly listened and cared made even difficult days feel manageable. She too felt a transformation. Her dreams, once muted by fear and caution, began to resurface. She felt empowered to pursue them, knowing that she had support and understanding beside her. The loneliness that had shadowed her earlier years had faded. She found joy in shared experiences and in the quiet moments that defined their relationship. Their life together was not marked by grand gestures or dramatic events, was found in the ordinary: the breakfast prepared and shared without rush, the early morning walks that allowed them to speak softly or not speak at all, the simple touch. When one of them felt burdened or tired, Devon challenges continued to arrive. As they always would, they faced stressful situations at work, moments of worry about family members, and personal doubts that crept quietly. At each difficulty was met as a team, discussing options calmly, supporting each other, and learning from each situation. They had learned that struggle does not weaken love but can strengthen it when approached with care and understanding. They discovered the importance of listening deeply, not only to each other but to the world around them. They spoke about hopes and fears openly, sometimes at night when the world outside was still. Sometimes they spoke softly during a walk. Sometimes they shared a quiet moment with no words needed. Simply knowing the other was there. The years taught them how to celebrate small victories together: a project completed at work, a day without conflict, a personal goal achieved, even a moment when the other felt happy for no particular reason was celebrated. Each small joy became a thread weaving a tapestry of shared life, trust, and happiness. They also discovered the power of empathy. When one was struggling, the other did not attempt to solve everything, but instead offered presence, understanding, and gentle encouragement. They learned that love is not about fixing each other, but about walking together through the process of growth, learning, and self-discovery. There were still disagreements. Of course, sometimes a word was said in haste, a misunderstanding arose, or frustration was visible in expression, but they had learned the art of patience and listening. They addressed each situation with calm conversation, acknowledging feelings without blame, and finding solutions that honored both perspectives. Through this, they understood that disagreement does not signify weakness, but can offer opportunities to deepen understanding. They continued to nurture each other's dreams. She encouraged him to try new hobbies and explore new interests. He supported her in taking steps toward goals she had set aside. They celebrated successes together and comforted each other during setbacks, understanding that encouragement and support are the quiet foundations of lasting connection. The small rituals of life became profound symbols of their lovemaking: a meal together, reading side by side, observing a sunset in silence, holding hands during a walk, listening to music while sharing thoughts. These moments carried significance because they were shared and intentional, demonstrating care and mutual presence. They also understood the importance of personal space. They respected the need for alone time and quiet reflection. This balance of closeness and independence allowed them to grow individually while remaining connected. It strengthened their bond, making it resilient and adaptable to life's changes over time. They faced moments of uncertainty. Financial pressures arose, health concerns emerged, and unexpected responsibilities appeared. Yet each situation reinforced their reliance on each other. They found comfort in knowing that while life is unpredictable, they could face it together. They developed habits of communication that sustained their relationship: daily check-ins, small questions about each other's day, sharing thoughts and emotions regularly. These practices ensured that neither felt overlooked or unimportant. Even amidst busy routines, they learned to forgive quickly. Mistakes were made, words were said in frustration, and misunderstandings occurred, but they had cultivated a habit of acknowledging errors, apologizing sincerely, and moving forward. Forgiveness became a natural part of their connection. Allowing trust to remain strong and unwavering through shared experiences, they discovered the power of gratitude, expressing appreciation for small acts. Kind gestures and simple moments became routine. They did not take the other for granted. Recognizing that love grows when gratitude is expressed consistently, they also explored the wider world together, traveling to new places, experiencing different cultures, and learning from each adventure. These experiences broadened their perspectives and created lasting memories that deepened their connection. Each journey reinforced the understanding that shared experiences enriched life and loves. The years passed. They observed the growth within themselves. They became more patient, resilient, and compassionate. They had learned to navigate fear, doubt, and uncertainty with a steady presence for one another. Each challenge faced together became a building block of strength. Even in the simplest daily routines, they found joy. Morning conversations over tea, quiet walks in the park, sharing stories from childhood, or discussing small observations about the world around them. These moments, simple as they were, became cherished because they were shared and intentional. They discovered the importance of humor and lightness. Laughter became a regular presence in their relationship, diffused tension, strengthened their bond, and reminded them not to take life too seriously. They learned to laugh at themselves at small mistakes and at the unpredictable events that life presented. They also cultivated patience with the passage of time. They understood that love is not a race, as a journey. They allowed the relationship to develop naturally, with attention to growth, understanding, and care. Rushing or forcing things had no place in their connection. Through years of experience, they learned that love is about daily choices, the choice to care, to listen, to encourage, to forgive, to support, and to share life's burdens. This understanding deepened their connection beyond mere emotion into an enduring commitment that was lived every day. They celebrated milestones quietly, yet meaningfully. Anniversaries were marked with reflections on growth, rather than lavish celebrations. Year together was a testament to the effort, patience, and attention invested in nurturing their bond. They understood that lasting love is built on these consistent, meaningful choices rather than dramatic gestures. They faced the inevitable moments of fear about the future. Questions about aging, health, and life's uncertainties appeared, but rather than allowing these fears to divide them, they chose to address them together. They planned carefully, supported each other, and reinforced the understanding that facing challenges as a team made them stronger. Their relationship became an example of quiet strength, not loud or dramatic, but steady, reliable, and resilient. Friends and family could see the care, respect, and attention they invested in each other. It became clear that enduring love is built on consistent action, empathy, and understanding. They continued to learn from each other. He became more expressive, learning to share emotions he had previously kept private. She became more confident, embracing her dreams with courage. Each influenced the other in ways that encouraged personal growth while maintaining connection. They also discovered the value of shared reflection. Looking back at the years, they remembered the early days of quiet recognition, the moments of tension and doubt, the conscious decision to embrace love despite fear, and the patient growth of trust and understanding. Each stage contributed to the depth of their connection. Through these reflections, they appreciated the importance of presence, being there physically, emotionally, and mentally, listening, supporting, and offering care in small and meaningful ways. They understood that love is most powerful when experienced through consistent presence. Their home became a sanctuary, a place where both felt safe, valued, and understood. It was not lavish or grand. It was a reflection of their shared values and mutual care, filled with small details that reflected their connection. They also understood the importance of self-care within the relationship. They respected individual needs, encouraged personal pursuits, and allowed space for rest and reflection. This balance ensured that their love remained healthy and sustainable even in moments of silence. They felt a deep connection. No words were needed to communicate understanding, support. In love, they had developed a language of presence and attention that transcended speech. They faced aging together, physical changes. Shifting energy levels and evolving priorities became part of their shared life, but they adapted with grace. Finding new ways to support each other and appreciate the simple pleasures of daily life, they also continued to nurture curiosity, exploring ideas, learning new skills, and discovering the world together kept life engaging and meaningful. This shared curiosity strengthened their bond and kept their connection dynamic through it all. They remained committed to gratitude, acknowledging each day spent together as a gift, expressing appreciation for one another, and valuing the shared experiences that defined their life's. Gratitude became a cornerstone of their enduring love. They celebrated ordinary moments with extraordinary attention, a shared cup of tea in the morning, a walk through familiar streets, an evening spent reading side by side. These small acts became symbols of deep care, trust, and shared life. They faced moments of sorrow, losses, disappointments, and inevitable hardships arrived, but together they navigated these moments with empathy, patience, and support. Each challenge reinforced their connection and strengthened their resilience. They also cultivated mindfulness, being present in each moment, appreciating the nuances of shared life, and noticing small acts of care that might otherwise go unnoticed. This mindfulness enriched their relationship and deepened the understanding between them even in routine tasks. They found joy cooking meals together, cleaning, running errands. These activities became opportunities for connection, communication, and shared experience. They understood that love is reflected in everyday life, not only in extraordinary moments. Through these years, their bond evolved into something rare, a love not defined by perfection or drama, but by consistent attention, care, understanding, and shared growth. It became a steady presence that provided comfort, strength, and inspiration. They realized that life is unpredictable, but love can provide stability through shared choices, patient communication, empathy, and support. They built a relationship capable of weathering uncertainty. They had learned that love is a practice, a daily commitment, and a journey even when facing new challenges. They approached each situation with calm and understanding together. They navigated complexities that might have overwhelmed them alone. They had developed the skills to sustain their connection through any circumstance over time. They discovered the joy of simply being together, no activities, no words, no plans needed. The presence of the other became a source of comfort, security, and happiness. They understood that love is often quiet and steady, not loud or dramatic. Through decades of shared life, they experienced growth, joy, challenges, and learning. Their love endured not because it was effortless, but because it was chosen every day through patience, care, communication, empathy, and presence. They created a life together that was meaningful and fulfilling. In the quiet moments of reflection, they realized how far they had come from the early days of subtle recognition to the deep, enduring connection. They now shared every challenge, every moment of doubt. Every act of care contributed to the strength of their bond, and as life continued with its unpredictability, they remained confident in their ability to face it together. Their love had become a source of stability, joy, and inspiration. It was not perfect, but it was real and enduring. They continued walking side by side, sharing laughter, facing difficulties, supporting dreams, celebrating victories, and comforting one another in sorrow every day. They reaffirmed the choice to be present, attentive, and caring. They understood that this was the essence of lasting love, a continuous practice of empathy, patience, understanding, and commitment, a bond nurtured daily, strengthened through experience, and enriched by shared life. They continued their journey together, not because life was easy, but because together life became meaningful, joyful, and full of shared purpose. Their love was a living testament to the power of daily choice, care, and presence.